Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Our underwriters for Art in the Air are Valparaiso University's Brower Museum, regional art patron Mary Levan, and our landlord Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments. Thank you for your generous support. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Thanks to Greg Kovach, WVOP's station manager, and Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operations at Lakeshore Public Radio. Art on the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m., plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event, exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck, BRECH.com, or through our Facebook page. Art on the Air is always looking for financial support. We'd like to thank our current supporters. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, Esther and I especially would invite you to become an underwriter of this program in particular. We have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA. You can find out support information there. So don't just be an Art on the Air listener. Become a supporter or underwriter in whatever amount you're able to do so we continue to bring you great content and this great local programming. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. And you'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. And we'd like to welcome to Art on the Air Spotlight, no stranger, especially if you hear the opening and closing of our show and sometimes music that we add to it, the one and only, the great jazz pianist, Billy Foster. And he's going to tell us about what he's got coming up in terms of teaching classes about big band. Billy, welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight.
We love you so much, Billy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, tell us about what you got coming up with the class and how it's going to work and when it is and all that.
Okay, well, at Indiana University Northwest, they have a program called the CURE program, the Center for Urban and Regional Excellence. And within that program, they have a senior university. And so from time to time, I teach classes in that program. And the class that we have coming up on March 8th, it's Monday, March 8th, and Thursday, March 11th, part 1 and part 2 of this program, or this class. I'll be teaching the big band era. So we're going to start early, like around 1920, and talk about the bands that started out in jazz. And we're going to go all the way up to the present day to present bands. And some of the bands we're going to touch on would be like Fletcher Henderson and Duke Ellington and Count Basie, some of the Benny Goodman, some of the earlier bands. And then we'll wind up with bands that are actually playing today, like the Clayton and Hamilton Jazz Orchestra, and actually the Count Basie Band is still around. We had them at Valpo not many years ago. And bands like that are still playing. And so it's going to be interesting all the way up through the years.
Very good.
Do you feature any of your music?
No, not on this program, I don't. I'd like to say this, too. In order to participate, you have to register so that they can send you a link. And so that number to register would be 219-980-6907. Let me say it once again. It's 219-980-6907. And this would be for the big band jazz classes.
To say I've taken the last series of classes, and they were so enjoyable. Billy, you're just so interesting, and you impart so much more knowledge about the music. It's a delightful experience.
Oh, well, thanks, Esther. It's really fun for me. I really enjoy it.
Is there a cost involved, Billy?
No cost at all.
Wow, so free.
And normally this is for seniors, but when it's on campus and the numbers are limited, but now that we're doing this virtually, I imagine anybody can just join us.
And what have you been doing with your music lately? Now under COVID and all the things, not being able to get out and perform. Just tell us about how that's impacting you.
Well, I'm not going out much. There aren't any gigs to play, obviously, no place to play. So I've been practicing a lot and writing a lot. So I am able to take advantage of this time that we have off.
And you're still doing the Jazz Zone, Billy Foster's Jazz Zone.
Right. I'm still doing the radio show. And so that's been fun also. This all through February, we're doing like Black History Jazz on the radio show. So we're doing some historical things. I think as we speak, we have an Art Blakey show running.
Ooh.
Very good.
And we not only do we get to hear you, but we get to hear your beautiful wife, Renee, on the radio show.
Right. She helps me out with that. And so both writing and doing the actual show.
And tell us where the show, if our listeners want to get it, not online and over the air.
Yeah, you can get it at my website at billyfoster.com. It's called the Billy Foster Jazz Zone. And you can get it on WGVE radio on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The call numbers are 88.7 FM.
I'm wondering where your CDs are available if anybody wants to pick up some CDs.
Well, you can get them online, iTunes, Amazon, places like that mainly. There aren't many record stores left anymore.
It's true, but I would encourage people to check them out. The music is fabulous.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, I mean, Tom Lounges has his little record store and a couple record bin in Hobart and Michigan City.
That's true.
So, I mean, there is a resurgence in vinyl. In fact, I donated a whole bunch of my vinyl to him that was in a flood, and I just didn't have time to deal with it and everything, Billy.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So this is coming up, your big band class. It starts March 8th, and if you want to enroll, folks, it's 219-980-6907. It's through IU Northwest, and you can get informed about the big band era from Billy Foster. So we hope that's all. That's about all we have for this segment. Hey, Billy, thanks so much. He's the composer, and his wife is the singer on our opening and closing theme song. Thank you so much for being Art on the Air Spotlight.
Well, thanks for having me.
Big hugs, Billy.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. We'd like to welcome to Art on the Air Karla Staley from Bagitude. These are handbags made with attitude. She's from Tinley Park, Illinois. She likes to create handbags from recycled items such as books, game boards, playbills, magazines, record jackets, photographs, and whatever she can, and makes them. She started her business in 2002, and she's been doing this for a while and now really continuing on. Welcome, Karla, to Art on the Air.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Aloha, Karla. It's great to see you.
Hello.
Well, Karla, we'd like our audience to know just a little bit about you. Tell us about your life journey. I always like to say from how you got from where you were to where you are now. You know, everything you want to tell us about yourself.
Sure. It's like anything in life. It's been an evolution from, growing up. I've always been interested in arts and crafts, sewing, although with my handbags, there isn't a large portion that's sewn, but always creating things. I believe when I was a little girl, I had a favorite pair of tennis shoes, and I worked so hard to recreate them because I really loved them. I would make furniture for my dollhouse out of cereal boxes and anything that I could find. So I've always had a passion for creating things. I'm married with 3 wonderful children who actually have grown with me through these last 20 years in business. It's been a really fun journey, making the handbags and getting to know the whole art process. I don't know what else to say.
Karla, what was that very first? So tell us about how it started, though. Like where did that first idea come from?
Sure. Our son played softball in junior high, and at the time there was cigar box purses were becoming very popular. And so I had thought, that's a really cute purse. I can do that. So I made purses out of cigar boxes, entered them into shows, expanded on the engineering with them to make them more durable, finished the insides really nicely. And then from there was an evolution towards non-smoking items. High school kids couldn't carry purses that were related to smoking. There was that whole campaign against smoking. So then it was a time to look to other items that could be created into purses. And that would be hardcover books, because I wanted to stay with the recycling idea. So I went to hardcover books, but hardcover books have a very narrow spine on them, unless you use like a big encyclopedia. So that spine tells you how wide your purse can be, so that you're very limited in what you can do. Plus, they didn't close. There was no way for you to add a top to it to make it close. So that brought me to game boards, where they can be manipulated, where they could be cut into pieces, joined together, with and then bordered, because you had to use a material to make them look correctly. Then we could add a top to it so that it would close. And then once we've determined how to make the sides of it with fabric and chipboard, then we could use that same technique to anything. And then moving from there to soft covered things, then you could add a piece to make the top so it would close, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
You could add to it to make it close. You could make the spine wider so the bottom could be bigger. And then from there, the playbills, and then all the theater connections. And then it just took off. So many custom pieces. When you can work with a piece of paper, that piece of paper could be anything. It could be a photograph. It could be a magazine cover. It could be, I did a picture that a child had drawn for her best friend. You're my best friend. 3 pieces of paper, and turned it into a purse. And she gave it to her for her birthday. So once that technique was perfected, and it was perfected over 20 years. Every time, you got better, you found something that worked, and it just got better. And then it just exploded with custom pieces and the shows, and it went from there.
So what was the first show? Because we met, I don't know, I want to say 7+ years ago at One of a Kind.
Yes.
And that's where I met you and your mother, who is so completely charming and such I know she's such an integral part of the business,
She has been. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The first show actually was the winter show at Andrew High School in Tinley Park. And we had a table. We didn't have a very good spot in the show, because as a new artist, you kind of,
right.
Politics come into play, but people found us, and a lot of the people who are the customers would ask us if we were local. And I said, we're so local that I'm probably standing in front of my kid's locker. So, so from there, then into bigger shows, the Lamb's Farm show, some of them at the convention centers. And then we started getting into the bigger shows. One of a Kind was several years down the road. That's a big, expensive show, and you need to really be established before you can do a show like that. We started traveling then. The winter season in Chicago is kind of dead as far as shows goes, but Florida has an art circuit, Texas, California. I figured out how to ship and travel. My tent was a carry-on piece without the fabrics over the tent. It was exactly 50 pounds. The frame was exactly 50 pounds. So I could put that on the airplane, ship my fabrics and my purses. And then when I got there, everything was together and did the show and hopefully judged it well enough that I had little inventory to bring back with me. And it was a blast. I mean, it was just so much fun. And then Mom traveling with me as well. And yeah.
That helps because it's exhausting. I don't think everybody realizes how exhausting the show circuit is.
Absolutely. I have always said that somebody should do a show on that, PBS or something should do the art show, because from just getting the stuff there and then setting up and getting ready and battling the weather or the elements and then doing the show, breaking it down, catching a flight home or jumping in the car and driving maybe 4 hours before you're dead. Not dead, but you're physically exhausted. And then it's time to stop for the night before you continue driving. Yeah, it's grueling.
It's really grueling.
It is.
But it is a lot of fun.
So rewarding.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so much fun. Yes.
And one question I have is, did you have any art background training? Did you study that in school?
None. No, not at all. Not at all. I actually was an insurance agent. And I was, when I started working on purses, it started off as a hobby. And then it kind of transitioned into hobby with a full-time job. And then it went from hobby to part-time job. And then it was full-time purses. So with the transition. So no, I've always just been crafty and, just intrigued by how things are put together. And so when it came down to making something like that, it was a process.
Do you get a lot of care packages from people who send you things, or how did you amass your playbills, and what makes you choose what to do? I mean, I'm sure popularity of a certain thing has, because I know you've mentioned like the Harry Potter books were
That's exactly it. Yes. Harry Potter, Hamilton, right there were the top ones. And so to get those playbills, and of course, nothing is reproduced. They're all originals. So it would involve going to the theater and helping to clean up after the show and scooping up as many as I could. And then each one of those were turned into handbags. Couple times I did like single day trips to New York, Southwest. My husband had points, got the early morning flight from Chicago, New York, did the matinee, picked up a bunch of playbills. I brought a friend one time. She went to Phantom. I went to Wicked. Scooped what we could, got the last flight and headed home. So we made it fun, but that's how we got them. The books too, secondhand shops. And then people would send us some things as well. If they wanted a custom purse, some authors have sent me their own book jackets, and those were turned into purses for them. There was another artist who did it when she had a book coming out. She would have a purse made, and then she would put it on her Facebook site and auction it off. So to build publicity for her book.
You did that with Tony Hawk too, right? Wasn't there a publicity?
Tony Hawk, yes. They sent me autographed posters for that, and they were turned into handbags and then auctioned off to benefit his charity out in LA. Same with the band Switchfoot. They too sent me band posters and made them into handbags.
It's such a great What a great thing to do.
Yes. A lot of that just comes from being at the shows and meeting people, and just people would come into the booth and be so excited to see a Nancy Drew book, a Marshall Fields shopping bag purse, Monopoly, Scrabble, little golden books. I mean, everything that we had in the booth spoke to just about everybody on some level.
It's true. I couldn't resist the Marshall Fields bag because of the memories. I mean, that was like the first, grown-up shopping experience,
Absolutely. And then to have it commemorated in a handbag.
Right. Yes. That green bag was just,
iconic for sure. So from there, people would, they would buy gifts for friends. Most of the handbags were for gifts. People would buy it for themselves, but a lot of it was for gifts. And my mom and I would say on Christmas morning, we would, just settle down with a cup of coffee and cheers and say, do you know how many people were making so happy today because somebody is giving them a gift that they can't wait to give to that person because they know it's going to be so special and so well received.
Right. And you say you were did about 1,000 purses a year. So that's a lot of happy people.
A lot of happy people.
And also we should, since we don't have video, the purses, the bag itself is very unique, but also the handles are beautiful with beads. And I know some of them had cloth straps, but the beads made them like jewelry almost.
Exactly. So those were on a basic handle frame. It was a plain handle frame, and then each one was hand beaded. So to find beads, it needed a large hole bead. So to find a bead large enough to go over the handle was tricky for one. And then every bead was a different size. So it was tricky to get the right combination of color and bead sizes to fit the stationary frame. So that was kind of just something that made it look cool, but without realizing that was way more difficult than what it actually looked.
Then the quality was just, beyond impeccable. They're just really beautiful pieces of art.
Thank you.
Karla, you are in Florida right now, but you're from Tinley Park, and you're also familiar with Duneland. But one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, how's this COVID-19 pandemic affected you, personally, and obviously you can't exhibit business-wise? And the other thing is what are you looking forward to after it's over?
Good question. I think the pandemic has made a lot of artists step back. Obviously, some of the art shows either are non-existent, and typically when you jury for an art show, that's usually 6 months to a year process out. So the first year of the pandemic, most shows were booked, and then there was are they going to go ahead with the show? Will there be refunds? And you have quite a bit of capital tied up in jury fees and shows. So financially, that's kind of an issue with that. Now that the pandemic is here, a lot of artists have changed to online formats and selling. That's a format that I have actually kind of stayed away from, which regret, yes, maybe, but maybe no. All my pieces are one of a kind. So to make a piece and put it on the website would involve a really good website for one, and two, a lot of work to do that. And then when the piece sells, taking it down from the website and mailing the logistics. And over the years, I chose really not to address that part of the business. I wanted to just make purses, go to the shows, meet the people, and sell them. Moving forward now, I think art shows are going to be more and more virtual. I do think that there's still an audience of people who are hungry to get back to a show. There's just that connection that you can make with an artist that isn't there on a virtual format. So I guess my answer is we'll see. I've kind of stepped away for the last year or so, but as I'm speaking to you today and have been thinking about the business again, I find that I'm getting more excited about it.
Maybe
and
some
realizing that I
custom,
miss.
like dip back into it with custom pieces if they come.
I miss it. I do. And I still have my foot in the door. I mean, I have done a lot of work for actors on Broadway. And if any of them call, I mean,
You're back in production.
I'm back in business, but to do shows, I do have some shows that I'm able to get back into without a problem.
So is your studio in your home, or do you have a separate studio to
No,
produce
it's in my home. It is in my home. And there was a time when I looked into having a studio, and I had looking to have other people work with me. I mean, I had some college students help me out through a couple summers, but I found that by having a studio and having people working with you, I was losing the flexibility in my own schedule. And when you're trying to balance your art with 3 teenage sons who are traveling and husband and obligations with family, it was quite a dance. So I was better off working in my home, maybe working till 2:00 in the morning, maybe getting up at 7, where you can be flexible about your time. But that means that you're mostly working all the time. People think that when you're a business for yourself, you can just kick back and, let it go. It's not like that at all. You
put more hours in because you're right there. There's no shut off.
You do. And you're constantly thinking, what can I do? How can I get this done? What about this idea when I want to take a chance to explore this? So yeah, it's, no, I've always worked from home. And that's when moms come in. She's worked with me. After my dad passed, I started working at her house. So that way she didn't travel to my house. I was working at her house. So the shop was in the basement and we would work together and yeah.
That's like such special time because the couple times I've met her, she's just such a joy and she really brought so much to that experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was part of the stepping back for a little while, is that she was still able to keep up. She would never tell you that she couldn't keep up, but I know that the day would come where she wouldn't be able to be with me. And I thought, I don't think I can do a show without her. So I'm going to wind it down, now. And as it turned out, it's been not a good thing, but the pandemic has kind of been good timing for me to have taken a step back. So
you should get some of those boys of yours, those teenagers, use their muscles and have them go with you.
You're right. You would think, but they want nothing to do with purses. So it's pretty funny. All the boys and mom's the purse maker, but their girlfriends and now wives thought they were pretty cool.
I bet.
Yes.
So you tell us a little bit about some of the Broadway connections you had with your purses.
I met an actor who was just upcoming at a show in Minnesota years ago. And he came into my booth and he asked if I would make his cast gifts. I had no idea what that involved. And as it turned out, when a show finally opens on Broadway, after it goes through a series of previews, they have a big party and then they gift each other. So I made gifts for every member of the cast. And that's everybody. Everybody you see listed on the playbill gets something. So it was handbags, satchels. It was like playbills, files, storage boxes, and then everything was personalized with headshots and bios of all the actors.
Wow.
And then they saw them and thought, oh, my mom would love this purse. So they commissioned more purses. So the last set of cast gifts I did was for the cast of Ain't Too Proud, which would still be on Broadway had it not be for the pandemic. I did something for the whole cast of Beautiful. So when they performed at the Tonys, it was so cool to look at them on TV and know that every single one of them had something that I made. So that was really a nice
Very
feeling.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So what are you looking forward to doing after the pandemic?
I'm not sure. Something artsy, but I'm not sure what that's going to be. In this last year, we've had a couple weddings. We've had 3 new grandbabies.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Congratulations.
been thank you, kind of focused on the family right now. Tons of projects that I've wanted to get to, but haven't had the time to. So just stitchery, needle arts, building stuff. I rehabbed a house. It's just stuff like that.
That's big. All of that's
It's big. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's been a busy pandemic year, I should say. But,
You anxious to get back home from Florida?
I am. I'm a little bit homesick. I'm going to be home next week, and I still need to take down the Christmas decorations because we left, and so go home and do that.
Are the grandchildren nearby, or
They are. Yes. So we've been really lucky. Yeah, absolutely.
If someone wants to commission, how would they get in touch with you? And how's that process work?
They could email me. I've been having issues with my Bagitude website, which I need to look into when I get back home. But for now, they can just email me at my name, Karla Staley. That's Karla with a K, at Comcast.net. And I'd be happy to talk to them about any commission pieces that they're interested in.
And we'll have a link to that on your picture on the website. They'll take them to
perfect.
that.
Thank you.
That'll work. And you do have a website. So what is that?
It would be bagswithattitude.com. But again, it's got some issues that I need to look into. So.
And you said you were familiar with the Duneland area, like the lake shore here and everything?
Yes. Actually, we have a home in Tinley, but we moved to Porter, Indiana, about a year ago. So we've been enjoying being in Porter and being out by the dunes. We're boaters as well. And we're loving being out in Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, you're a neighbor of mine. I'm in Chesterton here, so we're not too far away.
Nice. How long have you been in Chesterton?
I've been 5 years, but I've lived in Northwest Indiana all my life, Highland, and I've worked in
Nice.
Munster. So,
Nice. It's not going to be a secret anymore the way we're talking.
I hope not. So, well, Karla, we really appreciate you being on Art in the Air with her Bagitude. You can see her information on our website. You can link from her picture and everything. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Karla.
Take care. Thank you.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. And we'd like to welcome to Art in the Air a tree-hugging, dirt-loving ceramicist. She likes to incorporate her adventures of nature into her work. All her pieces are handcrafted out of porcelain clay. She's in Garfield Park, Indianapolis, and she's raised a Hoosier and has a passion for creating art since she's a child. Please welcome to Art in the Air, Jennifer Meeker. Welcome.
Hi.
Aloha, Jennifer. It's good to see you.
You as well.
Well, Jennifer, our audience would like to hear about your journey a little bit. Tell us about where you grew up. It says you've been a Hoosier all your life, but where you grew up, where you went to school, what you did, and family, if you wish. Tell us how you got from where you were to where you are now.
So I grew up in a little suburbia town by Indianapolis called New Palestine, and I have always been involved in the arts since a young child. I remember even riding the bus when I was in elementary school early to go do art for 2 hours before anybody else did in a visual arts class. So I've always been involved in arts, from drawing Beanie Babies as an 8-year-old to now creating ceramics that looks like birch trees. So I have always been fascinated with being outdoors. I was even just telling somebody the story the other day that I had a secret hiding spot in my backyard. My backyard had a creek with a bridge and all sorts of places for a child's imagination to go. And I would sit and play in my secret hiding spot and play. I think I called it living off of the land. And so I'd act like I was like living off the land in my backyard and making apple slushies and stuff. So that a lot of, my childhood has really developed into who I am as an adult now. I quite literally do forest frolic and tree hug, and I love to be outside, and I love to incorporate my natural lifestyle and love for the outdoors into my ceramic work.
Excellent.
Well, that is what your ceramic work is all about.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit. Where were you went to school? Things like that.
So I went to New Palestine High School. I graduated in 2005, and then I transitioned to Heron School of Art at IUPUI in Indianapolis, and that's where I received a BFA in ceramics and photography. And then after that, I made the journey to downtown Indianapolis and started seeking my my business by myself in 2012, and here I am today.
Excellent. Hey, I want to ask you a little bit about the photography. So what photography have you done? Because that's one of my fields also.
So I did. So my dad was a freelance photographer in the 90s. And so I, at a pretty young age, had a camera and always had a good mentor and a good influencer. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I got into photography. And I also taught a photography class at a YMCA camp for 5 years. And then I got the BFA in photography, and I did more fine art photography. So I did like conceptual art. I was very much darkroom based. I didn't do very much digital photography until my senior year. I did a lot of video work. I loved stop action animation as well. Right now, I don't really pursue photography as like a career, but it is so beneficial in my current field now because I photograph my work, and it kind of feeds that other passion of photography. If I bring my nice camera on the hikes with me, I'm like, yes, and I get to photograph my work, and I feel like my work is modeling when I photograph it. So it feeds that other passion.
Nikon or Canon?
Say it again.
Nikon or Canon?
I actually have an Olympus.
Okay. Well, they were the developer of the CMOS sensor, which is what actually launched Canon into the major digital. So,
yeah, I did have a Nikon before my Olympus.
So tell us about ceramics a little bit, how that developed from your also other passion.
So I did mess with ceramics when I was a child in the visual arts program when I was in elementary school. And then when I was in high school, they had a potter's wheel, and my art teacher had no idea how to use a potter's wheel. So I kind of fiddle-faddled with it for a little while and got frustrated quite a bit. And then when I went to Heron, I took a ceramic class, having no idea I'd get a ceramics degree. I was actually going for a fine arts degree, or I think it was photography at the time. And I got on the potter's wheel, and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. It was just.
Was it kick wheel or electric?
Electrics, not a kick wheel. I used that electricity.
Even in elementary, even in high school though, did they have electric?
Yeah, they had one electric wheel.
Oh wow.
But I just got on that wheel and I just picked it up. I even remember like my second ceramics class, my professor wanted to use me as an example on how to throw. The project was a perfect plate, and he wanted to use me as the example to throw the perfect plate. And it was something I just picked up really quickly. And when you know, you know.
It's true. One of the things I just really admire about you so much is you have like such a dedicated determination with everything you do. Do you think you've had that since childhood really? Because it seems like you just like you want a garden and you just full force go into it, and you want to do a mural and you're just like, or fix something. I mean, you're just like so passionate about all the things that you, I mean, you're just passionate about so many different things, but.
Thank you. I always say this, my passion, my drive, and just kind of going full throttle on things, I feel like comes a lot from my influencers, such as my mom and both my grandmothers are very independent women. I mean, so
we interviewed Grandma.
Yes, and my mom, like, she decided just to build a deck one day.
Go for it.
Well, see, that makes so much sense because I watched that whole garden and all the projects that you do, it's just like, I really felt, I mean, you really do throw yourself into them and they just come out brilliantly.
I really go to the beat of my own drum. Like if I kind of like, I'll use this for an example. I have a lot of back issues, and they were like, don't run. And I was like, okay. I ran a marathon a year later. I just have this like this attitude of like, nothing's going to stop me. And I really won't let anything stop me if I want to succeed. And I just keep going.
I say you like to backpack and do things like that. So tell us a little bit about where you go, doing that, in Indiana and even beyond.
So I got into backpacking, what was it, 2017, and I did my first backpacking trip in Colorado. And the first night was a little rough, but after that I was like, this is it. Like, there's just something so unreal that you won't experience unless you're in the middle of nowhere. No civilization, no road is for miles, and you're really in pure solitude. And it's just such a satisfying feeling and it does get, scary at one point. You're like, oh gosh, I'm not close to anything. Like, what if something happens? And you get over that real quick. But it's just something about staring at a lake that is 17 miles away from any road, and you can only get to it by foot, and staring at this lake and with mountains behind it. And you can't experience that. I don't know, just that feeling from a car. And so I really enjoy the physical exercise with backpacking. I love the sights that I see. Since I just started backpacking, I haven't gone too many places, but just to name a few, it's the Smoky Mountains, Utah. Hawaii was amazing on the lava fields. That was like, I've never heard silence before. I'm pretty sure I heard my brain like thinking. That was so quiet. That was a really neat experience. I am probably going to go back to Utah this year. I backpacked a couple places in Indiana, and there's so many more places that I want to explore. So,
part of Utah?
I went to Zion. That was my most recent in October 2019. And then I did Arches National Park. That was really, really neat. I want to go back this year, hopefully on a road trip this spring, and go to maybe Bryce Canyon or somewhere about there. Dinosaur National Monument, that was really neat. And I like to go places where there's not a lot of people, which is why I like to backpack. And so Dinosaur National Monument had a lot of solitude, a lot of quiet and serene places.
Have you ever been up here in the dunes and gone through some of the trails up here?
Yeah, actually, I took my boyfriend up there for his birthday in October, and we stayed at one of the campgrounds, and we did night hiking, which I had never done, and that is a whole different experience. We walked from our campground to I can't remember what beach it is, but it's like the best beach to go stargazing. And we got to the point where we had so much night vision, we didn't need anything. We just used the moonlight and walked and listened to like the perfect music. And it was just such an experience going there out on the beach, and you could see the stars for just forever in the dunes, because the dunes is one of the darkest places in Indiana and best places to see the stars. And he's really into stargazing and astrophotography. So I thought that was perfect. But that was an experience.
That sounds magnificent.
I know I shot the comet from the overlook there. Unfortunately, there was just a little bit of haze, so I didn't get the clearest shot. But yeah, that comet that we had some time ago, I went out this summer and shot that. I know what you mean. There is still quite a bit of light pollution, especially from Chicago even and Michigan City between those two. But I know what you mean. It's just really an interesting view. How does your outdoor life influence your art?
Always. I cannot go anywhere without being like, oh, this is a cool bark texture. Mm-hmm. Like, I get inspirations all the time. My most recent inspiration, the Upper Peninsula was the most recent backpacking trip, and I found a pink birch tree. Ooh. And so I can't quite get the color right, but I'm going to get it right this year. And it was just the way that the bark was, and just that trip. It was, I think, my longest backpacking trip solo by myself. And so I get influenced by trees that I see all the time. And my inspiration it's just, there's so many different ideas that I have. It's just, the ideas are always flowing and going into my ceramic work.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
So Jennifer, can you kind of briefly talk about the process of what you do? I mean, to create your, like, one, what gave you the idea to mix the bark, the carving? Because your mugs and your work it's all this hand carving to put the bark texture on the ceramics. But what was the inspiration to put the industrial rivets and different elements to combine them?
So in school at Heron, it's all based on conceptual art. So you got to have a concept behind your art. And I was trying to figure out what I was passionate about. And I've always been passionate about, the saving the planet and, recycling and just taking care of something that's been given to us. And I feel like that man, or us as a society, can have quite a negative effect on it. And so I came up with the idea of man versus nature. And this whole concept started with the image. If you could just imagine a side view of a man's face and then a tree coming out of it. And the idea behind that is that we are either with nature or against nature. And so we can come up with things that is it really nature if it's a constructed landscape in a downtown city or in a downtown Indianapolis and all the trees are in a straight line? Like, are we trying to recreate nature? Is this, what are we doing? And then we, try to take care of it, but then we destroy it. And it's just, I feel like it's a constant conflict. So that's where I got the idea of the industrial and the wood effects together. Also, the telephone poles is a big one because I stood there and stared at a telephone and had an epiphany in 2013. And I was like, telephone pole. They are used to be trees, and now they're standing like a tree with no bark on them. And they are used for like our necessity to live, for man, for society and humankind. And then that kind of idea, and then all the nails and the staples on them is just, I'm one of those weirdos, just like pet a telephone pole, like, ah!
Honoring that tree, honoring that tree.
Uh-huh.
And so, boy, I wish with so many of our guests, I wish we had visuals sometimes. So I wish they could see, well, they'll have to go to your website and everything because your glazes are so wonderful. And I hope that I love that you post videos of you actually creating them because I don't think everybody realizes the amount of labor that goes into it, and your piece especially, because you're not done once it's leather hard. I mean, that's just like when all the real work starts to happen. So
the process, like I have to say, being ADD and multitasking, ceramics is the best thing because I need to be working on multiple things at the same time. Because, I'm going to work tomorrow. I have to have 20 pieces already thrown on the wheel so I can work on them tomorrow. And so I have to have work always rotating and always something to work on. Like these handles, I make these handles. I got to have them dry for an hour in order to have the handles dry enough to put them on. So there's just a lot of organization, a lot of planning, and a lot of self-discipline with being an artist and being a ceramic artist.
Oh, yeah. You've got that production thing down because it's just so phenomenal to be like, oh my gosh, she just did 80 of them.
Especially right now, I call it my hibernation. I just want to hibernate and work. And I do that. And then I'm like, I have not eaten for 8 hours.
I know. I was just going to ask you, do you have dedicated time that you do it? I mean, do you say I'm going to work from like whatever time in the morning to whatever time, or
it's pretty flexible. Like right now I'm working later. I've been trying to get up at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I'll do some social media stuff and get down about 11. And then I'll try to work 11. Right now I'll work 11 a.m. till when I'm done. I teach a couple lessons. The other night I was working until 1 a.m. because I was just on a roll and I just kept working. And that's the thing is I can work late and then just wake up later.
Right.
That's the thing with an artist. You got to take advantage of that drive and that fuel that you have. because you can really be productive. And I really want to be productive right now, so I have more time off in the summer and such.
You know, you talked about hibernation a little bit, but tell us a little bit about how COVID has influenced you, both personally, you know, how it affects you, you know, how you feel about things, but also your work. And I guess the second part of that question is, what are you looking forward to do when it's all past?
I think the biggest challenge with COVID is probably I am a social butterfly and I work alone and I'm alone a lot. And that's been, I've learned to entertain myself quite a bit and just make myself laugh. So that's been the challenge personally is making sure that I make that conscious effort to be social as safely as I can. Cause, you know, I have a lot of different circles and I can't always hang out with all those different circles and commingle them. So personally, it's been a little bit isolating. Business wise, it's affected me in that way too, because I am a social butterfly. So doing art shows, it kind of feeds that extrovert self that I have, and not having art fairs, I started being online more in social media and trying to connect with my customers, connect with people online. And that changed my platform so much, of being on my phone and on my computer so much through my online shop. And it really just changed my business platform instead of doing art fairs. So what I look forward to now is doing art fairs, being on the road and traveling and connecting with people face to face. Like when I see my collectors come back to my booth and they're like, I have your mug, and it's, and they just tell me all these great stories, and they're like, we give hugs, and it just warms my heart, because that tells me that what I wanted to do is create something not only that I love and that I think is beautiful, but something else that somebody else that thinks it's beautiful and somebody that has brought them happiness, which sounds like so cliche, but
I have your driftwood mug and I just adore it. It just feels good. It looks beautiful. It makes me so happy.
Exactly. That's what I love.
So tell us about, did your grandmother, who is a well-known artist, Barbara Meeker, who's an instructor, has she had has that been any inspiration or influence for you?
She's been more than anything like a big cheerleader for me. She's always supported me. It always has been encouraging, positive encouragement. She has just had nothing but positive things to say about what I'm doing, and always thinks that I'm going to be going far with what I have been doing. I think the great way to sum that up is she's just been a really good cheerleader and also an inspiration as well, to have my grandmother be an artist. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Well, we've had her on the show, and I've known her for quite a few years when I was at the Center for Vision Forming Arts there, and she was very active there. So, she's a wonderful lady. So,
apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, so Larry, you'll like this bit. Jennifer and I met at the Chesterton Art Fair.
Oh, okay.
A lot of years ago.
Mm-hmm. And that's how my grandma got me introduced to Chesterton Art Fair.
Are you thinking of doing it this year? Because I'm on the board, so we are venturing out to have our art fair in August.
Uh-huh. I've discontinued the Chesterton Art Fair and have kind of moved on to more different art fairs, just kind of mixing it up.
Very good. What are you looking forward to doing in general? Have you have any artistic plans other than ceramics? I mean, I see the mural in the background there and everything.
The things I'm looking forward to probably is, well, right now I'm producing work that I know sells. So I'm trying to get the chores done first. And then in March, I think is when I'm going to start experimenting more with like my beech tree series, the pink birch tree series. I want to experiment with have a little bit more fluidity of spending a little bit more time on some new series in March and some new work. I just finished a mural in my basement, so that was a new venture. I think just looking forward to just doing art fairs.
I always look forward to when you have a new product that you introduce, or a new design, or a new colorway. And
people love that. That's what really keeps businesses going. Is any business is like, okay, what do you got new? What's going on new? And so that's what I'm wanting to work on. I have different sketches. Like there's the sycamore tree series. I have like these cool vases that I want to do that look like a sycamore tree and such. So that's another different inspiration. It's never ending.
Are your pieces found in any galleries or shops like that?
Right now, I'm transitioning to looking for some new. I'm looking for more wholesale but consignment shops because I am kind of transitioning out of places that I've been in for a while. Right now I'm in the South Shore Arts Gallery up north. I'm also in Needler's Market grocery store here in Indianapolis, New Palestine. I'm in a couple other shops around the tri-state area. Right now, I'm hoping to work on a couple wholesale deals to hopefully get in some distilleries and breweries as well too. So there's lots of new directions that I want to go as well. So stay tuned.
Well, probably want to actually take a moment here to find out how people can reach you. Your website, email, or Instagram, all your social media, where they can see your work and maybe get in touch with you.
So it's really easy. I am on just about every platform you can find. It's Jennifer Meeker. That's Meeker Art Ceramics. I'm on Google My Business. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Etsy is where you can buy my work. And Etsy is an online marketplace for artists because, it's great to support small business because we are the ones that really, really need the help right now through this pandemic. And I really appreciate all the support that I've received and very grateful for that.
Any final thoughts here in just a few seconds?
Support small business because we are what is going to keep the drive through all this.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on Art in the Air. That's Jennifer Meeker. She's a dirt-loving ceramicist and has a passion for creating art ever since she's a child. And you can see herself on all those websites that she just listed. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on Art in the Air. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Art in the Air, and we'd like to thank our guests this week. Art in the Air is heard every Friday at 11 a.m. and rebroadcast Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP and Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. Thanks again to Greg Kovach, WVLP Station Manager, and Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operations for Lakeshore Public Radio. Underwriters for Art in the Air are Valparaiso University's Brower Museum, our landlord, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments, and Mary Levan, Arts Patron. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant and the National Endowment for the Arts. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at AOTA@brech.com. That's AOTA@brech.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Brechner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world